The NBA playoffs are the time of year where every move, every play, and every action that a player makes on the court gets magnified to the highest degree because they are the games that matter the most. As a result of this, not only do the successes of players boost their standing amongst fans more so now than in the regular season, but the failures that the top players experience also tend to come with more negativity thrown their way as well. Without fail, every year, narratives run rampant during this time of year that oftentimes prove to just be flat out overreactions in the heat of the moment, and that brings us to the topic of today's video. Today we'll be discussing 4 particular narratives that have become pretty commonly expressed amongst fans of the game this offseason based on the way that things have played out in the playoffs, and I'm here to tell you why they are way too extreme and fall into the category of an overreaction. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. PrizePicks is the perfect service for all of us basketball fans here because when you're involved, it makes watching the games every night so much more fun and engaging. Basically, it's an application that provides you with lines on all kinds of individual player props, such as points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made amongst others, and you simply have to choose whether you believe they will record over the set amount in the line or under the set amount in the lines. Make your selections, wager however much you want to, and if your picks hit, you can win some big money. For some picks that I'm looking at making for the next NBA Finals game, I'm thinking of going with Steph Curry to score over 28.5 points, Jason Tatum to make over 3.5 threes, and Robert Williams to grab under 8 rebounds. If this sounds at all intriguing to you, then go use the link down in the description of the video to sign up today and use promo code REFERENCE to receive a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The first narrative that I would definitely call an overreaction from this year's postseason that we'll be discussing today is the idea that Chris Paul's legacy will always be that he chokes and comes up short in big moments consistently. Chris Paul has been in the league for a very long time, and while he's someone who has accomplished a lot and definitely has a large fan base rooting for him, he has also become a player that a lot of people tend to enjoy to root against. And when the Suns got eliminated by the Dallas Mavericks this year in humiliating fashion, you better believe Paul was the butt of a ton of jokes and slander as a result of it. Paul's illustrious career features tons of accomplishments, but winning a championship is not amongst those accomplishments, and honestly, it did feel like this was his last chance to realistically contend for one. But his shortcomings in this regard over the years have been due to a ton of misfortune and other context that of course never gets brought up in these conversations, and blaming him for all of it is objectively wrong to do. Yes, it's true that he was pretty bad in the team's final 2 elimination games against the Mavericks, but at his age, he's not able to be the scorer that he once was. He had been playing through a quad injury, and the team as a whole just didn't come to play outside of him too. If you look back through Paul's playoff exits throughout his career, they've typically come against better opponents, and the times that his team was favored have often come when some of his best teammates were injured, so there's been a ton of bad luck added in as well. I'm not saying that Paul has never come up short in big moments, because he definitely has, but those few times don't deserve to be the defining part of his legacy. Ultimately, this is something that will be hanging over Chris Paul's head for a while as his time in the league ticks away, but ignoring all of his successes and focusing solely on his failures just isn't fair to him. The next overreaction we'll be discussing from this year's postseason is the amount of people saying that the Memphis Grizzlies were a better team without Ja Morant. I will admit that this year the Grizzlies' success was not only something that I don't think anyone saw coming, but also came in some pretty strange ways, and when a young team has fun and celebrates as much as the Grizzlies did throughout the year, it will rub some people the wrong way, but this whole narrative is a huge reach. The Warriors finished with the second best record in the entire NBA this regular season, which is a massive accomplishment, and they did it with Ja Morant missing 25 games this year, yet the team still managed to win 20 of those 25 games without him. Then in the playoffs, Morant once again unfortunately went down with an injury against the Warriors in the second round, and the team was still able to win a game comfortably against them without him in that series, to further push this narrative. But instead of using this as a chance to slander Ja Morant, what we should actually be doing is applauding the Grizzlies front office for building such a strong, balanced, and well-rounded roster from top to bottom that can still perform at a high level when their best player is missing. Ja Morant is the leader of the team and is their franchise cornerstone, but the Grizzlies have done a phenomenal job building a young and competitive team through the draft. The next overreaction we'll be discussing from this year's postseason is that a lot of people came away from the first round using it as evidence that Nikola Jokic didn't actually deserve to be the MVP. Now, for those of you who watched my video about who I would choose to win each of the awards this year, you would know that I was on the side of picking Joel Embiid over Nikola Jokic, but despite that, I also acknowledged that they both had ridiculously good seasons and that they are both deserving of being crowned the MVP of the league. No matter which of them won it, there was no robbery, because there were completely valid cases to be made for both of them, and the award wasn't quote-unquote stolen from either of them, just like it wasn't stolen from Embiid since Nikola Jokic won, and if Embiid did win, then he wouldn't have stolen it from Jokic, because their race was truly that close. Jokic and the Nuggets got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs in 5 games to the Warriors. He performed fine offensively, but there were stretches throughout the series where Jokic was being targeted defensively, and while those are valid criticisms of his game, we need to realize that the MVP award is a regular season award. Nothing that happens in the postseason overwrites what happens in the 82 games that come before it. And finally, the last overreaction from this year's postseason that we'll be discussing is the notion that James Harden is now completely washed as an individual. For the last decade, we've known James Harden as one of the most lethal scorers in the entire NBA. He's won 3 scoring titles, he's broken all kinds of scoring records, and he's been one of the most dominant shot creators the league has ever seen. This year, though, it was clear as day that he was no longer performing like that guy, and when the Sixers traded for him, many were hoping for him to channel his former self and create an elite duo with Joel Embiid, but in the postseason, he was just never able to do that. The thing that most people don't acknowledge, though, is that Harden has been battling through a hamstring injury that he suffered during the postseason last year that he never really got to fully recover from before trying to play through it again this season. Going back through interviews that he gave before the year even started, he himself said that he wasn't even able to play pickup basketball last offseason because of the rehab he was doing on his hamstring, and when he was with the Nets at the beginning of the year, he also acknowledged that he wouldn't be able to score more than 30 points like he used to consistently because of the state of his health. This summer, though, he's going to get to put in the work to get back to his former self, to be 100% healthy without rehab holding him back, hanging over his shoulder, and while his best days as a scorer in the league may be over, he should definitely be able to improve upon the disappointing season that he had this year. He's still an elite passer and playmaker who ranks amongst the best assisters in the league, and if he can recover any level of burst with his first step, then he'll be back in business as a scorer too. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about these popular narratives being pushed by fans of the game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.